Welcome back, everybody, to the Paladins World Championship. We're doing Europe today, and it's time for us to bounce back up into the upper bracket. Agro and Kresnik going to be running you through this one. As Kres, this very well could be a preview of our finals. ClownFiesta up against Yoinkers. I mean, these two teams have looked so dominant today in their earlier matches that I don't think it's really a stretch to say that these are the two favorites to win it all.
I think I can't disagree with you. Both these teams, as you can just tell by the score lines, were looking strong against their competition and have looked strong against their competition all year. But looking at these two teams historically, I mean, Yoinkers are up 3-0 against them. Although the first time that was a forfeit because Prosper Logic from their team who swapped sides ended up being late and forcing a forfeit. But ClownFiesta, if they want to take it against them, they have to fix something. They have to figure something out because they've been struggling for 15 weeks now since Yoinkers were able to enter the PPC.
Yoinkers has looked that good throughout their time in the PPC, but of course, if there's a team I think that is capable of making those adjustments, it's a team like ClownFiesta that has really looked really good today. These two teams, I do think it's worth noting, have had pretty different ideas of how they want to pick and ban so far, so I'm very excited to get into those. But first, of course, we've got to see the maps on which we will be both not playing and playing. We're going to kick it off with Stone Keep, as we have basically all day today. Jaguar Falls, Frog Isle, Fish Market, and Warder's Gate all banned. Those are some interesting bans, though, Kresnik. No Shattered Desert, no Ascension Peak. I mean, there are some normal banned maps that are let through now.
Yeah, the stalwart one, Warder's Gate, remains down there, but looks like more of a target towards Clown's map pool, and I think it's more of a target towards how they've been looking well since their most recent roster change. They only just swapped out K Cruncy for Simsaloo, so maybe they don't have everything locked in, and that's also is going to be their target for sure. Ban that Mave early. That's been a very constant pick for Alex. It's been a constant pick for Simsaloo on his minor league team that he was on before. So they're in this game ready, and we'll see how Clown react. And I'm not sure if a Torv ban is that. In the last set that Yoinkers played, neither team really even cared for Torvald, and this is an okay map for him, not necessarily the best.
Yeah, I was going to say, Torvald we didn't see him pick Torband at all, I believe, in the first set of the day where Yoinkers was playing, so worth noting that ClownFiesta is still willing to ban it, even though this team has not shown a willingness to prioritize it quite yet. As Genos does get through, but a lot of those tanks that we saw get banned in the earlier sets are open. I'm looking at Makoa, Ash, Ruckus. You've got a lot that seems like it's still open in this match.
Yeah, the Ruckus and the Ash, them not being banned, I think, shows me how targeted those were towards Toot Toot in particular and how Celestial likes to play the game. So now this Makoa and Corvus, both getting through. Makoa in particular will do a great job locking down whatever side they choose to play on this map. They have the healing to back it up. They've denied that double pocket. I don't hate the start here for Clown, but Yoinkers now, I feel like this is going to lean a little bit towards them if they play super pokey, if they just play distance from the Makoa, and that's what they think too with this Strix with a 78, good lord, % win rate on that character already. You can't be unhappy locking someone that's winning that much on your side.
No, Strix has looked very, very strong so far today, and for a large part, yesterday as well. I think that's worth noting because Kinessa is usually thought of as the premier sniper at times, but Strix may be winning that battle as of late. As Shaolin locked in only one game played so far, but in a winning effort. Shaolin has impressed me in the few games we've seen him so far during this Paladins World Championship, Chris.
Yeah, Shaolin's great against flankers and great for some burst damage in general. I know that some teams have been calling him a straight-up bait, but when Clown played him earlier against that ROM, he looked fantastic. They kept the off-tanks off of him, and it's going to be this Ash's job to apply that pressure to him and to avoid getting crippled out of the dash when it's being lined up. But Yoinkers, they're sticking with something that some people have been criticizing, but EU teams have been playing to, I think, some success. This solo tank Ash, using her just to make space while the rest of the DPS follow up as fast as possible. I think it can work so far into them. It's just that the Makoa matchup can be one-sided if their solo tank isn't careful.
Wow, and then the Buck comes through as well. Two solo tanks. Makoa a little bit more used to being the solo tank, I feel like, in comparison to someone like Ash. Who do you think gets off to a good start in this pivotal matchup, Chris?
I like the double DPS lineup from ClownFiesta, but I feel like they might just get executed. The Makoa could just go down to the Xin. Early mids, I'm going to say lean towards Clown, but as the game goes on, I think that the Xin, the executes, and the ults that they have on Yoinker's side bring them to an advantage.
This Xin has been phenomenal for multiple teams here in Europe so far today during the PWC. We'll see if that continues here on Stone Keep. I'm looking forward to seeing how these two frontline tanks are able to make it work. Ashe all alone, we'll see if it's enough. Yoinkers versus ClownFiesta, the matchup we've been waiting for, at least round one, it feels like, between these two. Let's throw it down to the casters for Stone Keep.
Thank you so much on the desk, you guys. It's me, Fawn the Legend, but I'm joined by Gormizer. He's here with me as my wonderful chair, too. This is going to be an awesome match, Gore. I'm so excited to see this. These two teams are #1 and #2 seed, respectively, in the European region. It's definitely something I'm sure everyone has to be looking forward to.
Yeah, North America yesterday, their finals were really hype, but I'll be honest, I think this is going to be maybe one of the best set of the weekend overall, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just these two teams have so much potential behind both of them. And, you know, again, in a world where an alternate universe where things are alt-universe, I said that twice, where things are cross-play and we have like everybody on LAN and you know, everyone was able to be in one spot for this. I expect these two to both do incredibly well in a bracket like that. And it's the one that loses me the most. I don't know what to expect. Yoinkers historically has the matchup over ClownFiesta here, but ClownFiesta has made a couple of changes, or roster changes most noticeably. No Cruncy, yes Simsaloo that comes in for it. And I'm interested to see if they'll finally be able to take it to Yoinkers, or if this lineup that Yoinkers has brought that dominated Europe in Phase 2 is just going to continue to be too strong for them.
ClownFiesta has already conceded church, but this might not be the best look as Yoinkers take advantage of almost not only a first blood, but they take a second one soon. And after that, just too much pressure in Keep side. Hard for them to sort of respond. Double kill already for Logi. Buck is the only one on the side of ClownFiesta that managed to get a kill for his team. This means that Yoinkers, as you can very obviously see, are more than ready to try and keep their zone and their position.
I mean, as long as they can keep this kind of pressure up, I don't think this is going to be very difficult for them to find the cap. They do get EV pushed away, though, for ClownFiesta, so maybe an opening, an avenue to try and get back to that. But, I mean, look at it. It's 90% to 9, and they're having trouble catching up. Ninu finally gets a kill fawn, but it might have taken him too long.
Simsaloo gets trade. Now, Good Lad was there, but you can say the same thing about Ninu. FRZO did go down thanks to the booby trap earlier, so they're missing a healer. And the flashbang does go out. Prosper is ready to start popping heads. If anything, they found another 1800 in the back. Can't peek that one again. And he's waiting for any possible opportunity to see another one move right on by. Manages to get the dismount as well. And they just want to keep on capturing. And once they got the point, they're going to keep on rolling the cart forward. As now Makoa's, everyone's just sort of stuck up, grouped together to try and wait for a better opportunity. Shaolin tries to peek, and he doesn't get killed, but Simsaloo does. He loses a teammate.
Yeah, this is just, I think, unfortunate. ClownFiesta not able to find themselves grouped up in any way. I mean, Etsy's finding a lot of good picks. A lot of the kills that are coming out for Yoinkers just feel very coordinated. They know what they're doing. They have a plan of engagement. They're getting in there. And as of right now, I mean, look at it. ClownFiesta, you should not be used to seeing them like this. They are not the kind of players that get locked inside a base, but they don't have anything else to do here. That payload's just going to keep moving forward. Yoinkers have such a good grip on this game.
Makoa wants to start things off here. Moves over to the side. He controls high ground with shell shield. Or half shell, excuse me. And manages to make things a little bit more dicey for Yoinkers. But the assert dominance in the back means that they're keeping them in there. Living in their base rent free, if anything. Hard to move out or even get the shots that you're looking for when Ashe assert dominates so hard up on top of the high ground. Ice Storm goes down, finds the kill. Not only on Excentra, but Simsaloo gets brought down to size soon after that. Prosper finds one on Ninu. That's a double for him. The sniper is going rampant right now. They can't even peek out of the spawn, and Yoinkers has submitted a 2-0 already against ClownFiesta.
Well, here I was thinking this was going to last a little longer, and maybe that's just one of those iconic Stone Keep rounds where, you know, I mean, we've seen it countless times on this map. A team will go 2-0 and then lose 4 in a row. But I don't know, that felt different. The terms of engagement, the way that Yoinkers approach the fight, every single step of the way, it just felt like they knew what they were doing and they were working as a cohesive unit, whereas ClownFiesta, it felt like Simsalou jumping in at one end, Alex, Exentra trying to get something done, but no one ever working fully together there in that first round. So they really need to change that up because the synergy between the players doesn't seem to be there as well for ClownFiesta. I also think just Yoinkers, you know, they had mentioned it on the desk, but going in with Goodlad as the solo tank, but Ash being able to get aggressive synergizes well with the Genos as well, and so does everybody else on the squad. It just feels like they're going to overwhelm them with damage.
It seems like they're playing to their advantage here. You mentioned it before, but Ninu was already waiting in the back, posted up, throws out the hook and manages to pull in Logi. It forces out the sword, but the through time and space is ready. He's looking for any possible opportunity, but his teammates are down. He's not going to go for much. Ancient Rage in the back, lowers himself well enough for that to matter, tries to touch, stalls for a fraction of a second, and ClownFiesta take control over this one. They have the comeback mechanic, 4% every single tick. And that's going to be enough to potentially cement themselves on the objective. Depends on how far forward Yoinkers wants to try to push here. They're slowly making their way back through time and space on the objective. They're not going to be able to quite find the hit either. So now Ash is trying to push through, goes for the hook. They get the hook, but they only did that to stall things out. They even trade for it. Logi and Ninu are both out of the fray for now, making this a 4v4 and a point secured for ClownFiesta.
This is one of those games where, well, depending on how this push goes for ClownFiesta, I think I can say with somewhat confidence this happens when we get two teams that are just really good, right? And, you know, we are used to seeing games go to 0.7s, right? Or, you know, end in 4-2s when things get very competitive. But when you have two teams at this level that just know what they're doing and can control the pace of the game without really risking a whole lot, although that's a beautiful assert dominance in terms of control right there, but better hook that comes through to be able to find the kill. This is how it goes, right? You find a 2-0, the other team 2-0s, and then in the next round, theoretically, someone 2-0s. There's not a lot of defenses, there's not a lot of stalls. The games go quick because they just know how they're going to tackle that round, and they do it from the get-go. And that's the interesting thing that these two teams have brought into this. I'm wondering if ClownFiesta can keep it up, because it does feel like their grip is starting to slip on the control they had.
Goodlad does find at least the pick onto Exentra. It means that ClownFiesta's aggression is being dwindled. The fire they may have had moving onto the objective is now slowly being extinguished by Yoinkers' extremely good defense. I would say they've been holding on pretty well. Ninu's been catching a lot of these hooks, beautiful hooks on squishier targets, but even still, it's not enough to cement themselves the kill. It might be too much damage for him to take all at once, so they have to play a little bit more cautiously. See how they change up the style. Shaolin is up here for Koa now this time around, excuse me. As Makoa obviously wants to try and move in, knows he's there, pushes in with Alex, and they find that pick for FRZO, waiting in the back, making sure he's spreading out the Luminary buff however that he can. Ice Storm gets dropped, tries to prevent people from going in, but Simsalou moves up onto the top, and Logi has to find some sort of way to get out, but they drop down, deal with him, and then tries to peel, but it's a little bit too late. He might be in a bad spot here. Buck and the Makoa are holding on to the sidelines here. Exentra has been sitting there pretty much just chilling the entire time. No one's really been able to contest him, try and move into the back on the Prosper, but they're not going to be able to get that. They can't find the pick on him, and Ninu goes down too.
A great trade in favor of Prosper Logic up there, and they're still finding some kills. I expect overtime here. Exentra about to have the Sentinels. I don't know if you use any of these ults right now, though, Fawn. ClownFiesta, you're charging them up. You did use Buck Wild, and you're getting some kills. It's very tempting, but I think you hold on to what you have unless you are so sure about the conversion here and sure that you can win the next round, because it's moving forward still.
It's definitely close to meeting its final point, but getting guillotined is no laughing matter, but they don't have that for next time, though. That round is pretty much given to Yoinkers. They want to go up 3-1. It makes sense. They don't really want to give them too much or of an advantage or try and tie things up, but even still, they don't have that coming into next round, Gore. I think that's not as good, especially on a target like Makoa. I mean, you're going to need to burn him down effectively enough. You don't want him to get off that Ancient Rage because he's going to push in and he's going to be aggressive.
Yeah, I expect Ninu to do very similar to what he did last time, which realistically was either go pressure out Prosper, Etsu, or Logi. Either way, getting into the back line, and like you said, even if he gets low, has that Ancient Rage available so he can get that pop-off and just continue the onslaught that will be kills afterward. With no Buck Wild, no Heat Haze, that's going to maybe shake things up in the backline, make it a little easier for Yoinkers to try and control this. But if that Makoa can just find a little bit of disruption that lets those flanks get back there, it'll be fine.
Genos uses the through time and space, goes wide. A couple members of ClownFiesta are grouped up. Meanwhile, Logi's being dealt with in church by the Buck. Simsaloo tries to see if he can get any damage, but all he ends up doing is losing the trade. Ninu flanks around, looking for an opportunity to see if he can get on top of Genos, but he's not going to find that opportunity. Logi, can't say the same for him though, finds a good shot in the Shaolin and leaves him looking pretty low. 11% on the point for ClownFiesta. They have comeback mechanic, but they aren't gaining much. Ice Storm directly dropped onto the healer, but good lad, he's going to be the one traded out in this fight. Etsu goes down too, as Logi has to force out the ice block. They can't really do much here. Alex finds some beautiful shots on a soaring Eevee, and they get that kill. The comeback mechanic, if they keep them zoned out long enough, it won't matter. They won't really be able to touch it all.
I might go ahead and say now is long enough. I mean, there might be a touchdown over here, but even still, it's going to be very risky and very, very next to the edge. And nah, it's not going to be enough. In fact, you might just lose your life if you're Etsu here. Good chase down from Simsaloo, and a good fight from ClownFiesta. I mean, disadvantage in the ults, but still able to make things work in their favor. And a Heat Haze that charges up in time and makes a big impact. Gives them that mid. Now they just have to figure out what went wrong last time and keep that pressure mounted. I think they got kind of caught up in the separation during the last fight, during the last push. And so here, they can continue this onslaught, more specifically control something like the Ashe and realistically prosper, because this is where that sniper starts to shine. A nice long line of sight for him sitting back in the base. Then they're going to be able to get this payload converted without too much stress.
It seems like for right now, that Buck is posing a bit of a threat towards Etsu. Tried to use his ultimate, doesn't find the kill either. That Buck healing as well as the Corvus might be a little bit too much, and Simsaloo is willing to return the favor here. No ultimate necessary on the side of Buck. He's just holding the ground. He's just standing his ground over by the edge here. As Nino is still slowly pushing the cart forward. Not much contesting going on, but Simsaloo going down means that it might be a little bit easier for them to hold on. They have plenty of time, and ClownFiesta do end up losing this, and it seems like they're getting picked off one after the other. Of course, meaning that they have to make their way back and try and play retake, but this is a good offense from Yoinkers. They got the kill, they're sending forward, and they're even getting kills on the retreat.
And yeah, being able to now choke up, again, this is what I love to see in a lot of these teams for Yoinkers. Get aggressive, lock them down, and push them away. If you lose, good lad, has assert dominance still, and there's a minute left on the clock, so it's not necessarily the end of the world, but any ground that ClownFiesta is able to make up for means that you're going to be fighting in this courtyard. Better for Prosper, maybe not so good for the Eevee. Everyone's going to be able to see where she is, and well, theoretically, Simsaloo's going to be able to get back to him, but that was just a good grip from Friezo to make sure that they aren't quite able to seal the deal.
Yeah, it ends up working out for them too. Beautiful void grip as well from FRZO. I'm glad you mentioned that because he sort of like flick shotted it onto the Buck immediately. Buck jumps up, he hears the noise, he grabs him, and Prosper manages to get the kill. That pretty much secures their defense for now. But even still, I'm a little bit more concerned about how this aggression has been going for them, Gormizer. I mean, you have the Buck, you have these sort of characters that can all in. They can full send, as some people might phrase that. But it's just not working out. It seems like they're going at different times. They aren't really working as congruently together as you might expect a team like that to.
Yeah, and that was the same issue I had in round one, where it just felt like they didn't quite have the same, like I guess like you said, they're not on the same page. Simsaloo's jumping into the back line, and everyone else is still way back near the archway, right? Like, there's no one really to go with them. And, yeah, Buck has some sustain, but he doesn't have that much sustain. So you have to figure out where you're going to get aggressive. The problem is they don't necessarily have a lot that I think is on the same page just in general for their draft. I don't see Shaolin and Buck jumping in at the same time. They just can't. Same thing for Vivian. And so, realistically, Simsy is in this awkward area where his pace that he has to have on Buck is kind of dictated by the rest of his team and maybe going to be a little faster.
They're rolling the card in, and the only tank that Yoinkers has been eliminated. Etsu has too, and he was the last one standing to try and stall on the cart. They made it back. ClownFiesta were there, they were ready, and they conquered. 3-3 tie. This is the very first game of this set. Stone Keep is shaping up to be a very interesting one. This is the type of a gameplay we expected to see between these two teams anyway. I mean, what? Yeah. Seeing these two teams first and second seed, you wouldn't expect it not to go to a 0.7 at some point. I mean, they're really giving it their all here.
The thing I'm worried about, though, is ClownFiesta twice in a row had that comeback mechanic enabled for them, right? We're down by those 2 points, so they were really able to dictate the pace of the point because they didn't have to worry too much about it. Time was on their side. Now they're going back in on even footing. Everyone's going to capture at the same rate. That means that Yoinkers kind of go back to round 1. You look at the ults, 4 up on the side of ClownFiesta. Same thing on the other side, although Etsu just behind means they have a slight advantage over there. It's up to Ninu and what kind of progress he can get for his team, because otherwise it's been 1-for-1 so far.
Farzio wants to back up. Logi unevens the odds here as Simsaloo knows he's in the back line, tries to move back, gets the kill, and he's looking at Good Lad next. It's a one-on-one engagement in the back by Fireplace. He has some help. They are going to be able to find the Vivian. They want to try and see if they can force anyone else out. Prosper found one on the Alex, but it doesn't matter. There's still 2 DPS alive, as well as their tank. They're forcing the rest of Yoinkers back and forcing them to wait for their team. Pulls in the hook, tries to go for the body block. Doesn't quite find it, but the Ice Storm gets dropped on Simsaloo almost instantly. Corvus Buck is too much of a tanky composition. A duo for the ages, if anything. Hard to deal with. Drops the Ice Storm, but can't find the kill. They got Good Lad. So they're forcing anyone else on Yoinkers to try and play patiently. Etsu does no such thing and goes in, gets the kill, but Ninu is ready to trade that out. Maybe Prosper's in a bad spot here, but gets killed, shot in the back, and then Prosper finishes him off. Now they can touch. They're doing what they can. Good Lad's back up and ready to fight. They void grip Alex. He's taken out, and the rest of the members of ClownFiesta are forced back. Vivian might be in a worse off spot than before as Logi tries to run her down. If they don't get the kill, though, this might be a little bit hard for them to try and retake. They want to push in, though. They want the aggression. Half Shell gets dropped. Logi with a direct hit that ends with a double kill as it's 66% to 93. Corvus using the Entropic Breach. He wants the DR. He needs to stay alive for a little bit longer. Banana, but FRZO comes around. The team is ready. They found their opportunity, and they're trying to take advantage of said situation. They take care of the healer. Alex is still alive with Ninu. Hook goes out. They're trying to take care of one of them, and they managed to get Logi. Simsaloo came right back around. The reinforcements are here. The cavalry is ready to fight. They just respawned and came back. Alex and Ascension is focusing down the Ash. Good Lad manages to take care of one thanks to Etsu. His teammate came around. Guillotine, spite on the objective and the assert dominance. They want to hold this for as long as they possibly can. Half Shell immediately in the church as he gets grip, spins on the objective, but it doesn't matter. Simsaloo dances on and off of point. They're just following one body after the next. Yoinkers is your first dub in this set on Stone Keep.
Holy, I mean, they're just going for it. ClownFiesta, I gotta admire that. But that Eevee play, again, you can't always count on it. You don't know when it's gonna happen. But if you can go in and just mess around, get a double kill, then you're absolutely going to set things up. Otherwise, I mean, ClownFiesta, they're controlling so much of that. The minute Eevee gets rid of the DPS, it becomes so much easier for them, at least on the tank front, to deal with Makoa versus Ashe on the other side, who just felt unkillable at the very end there. Unfortunate fall for ClownFiesta, but I'm excited to see what they have to offer as time keeps going on.
Yeah, I mean, what an amazing set. 0.7, the very, very first match. Let's just toss it back to the desk and get their thoughts on the match.
An incredible start to what is sure to be a great set to watch between these two teams. Yoinkers and ClownFiesta go the distance as expected, but it's Yoinkers who come out on top ever so slightly. It was looking pretty good for ClownFiesta on that last point, Krez, but Logi, stop me if you've heard this one before, made a big play, popped off, and his team won because of it.
Yeah, Logi on that Eevee just was everywhere that they didn't want him to be, catching Simsaloo on the back of a bad jump. Think about that one buck leap, right? If that goes on the other side of the wall, he's a million times safer in that final fight, and then suddenly Logi doesn't get that double. What happens then? It's just, these teams are so close that the little things are what's making the big difference. Logi, though, on this Eevee, I love seeing him prove himself here, because people were, he was an, an Andro one trick at the start, and then, oh, now he's a Kinessa one trick, but then he started flexing around a lot more in these games, and he's really showing that he's one of the big reasons why Yoinkers has been as successful as they are.
Everyone has to perform if you're going to beat a team like ClownFiesta, and certainly that's the case here for Yoinkers, but we're definitely correct to be highlighting this guy, Logi, on this Eevee. A couple big plays just in general there from this squad at the very end. The Xin taking care of that Shaolin, and here's this double kill at the very end where both the Vivian and the Buck get barrel stuffed by the Eevee. Love to see that. Love to see that level of play early on in this set, because it means it's setting us up for even more good games down the line. Excited to see where we're going next. Map number 2 coming up right now. It's going to be Splitstone Quarry second up. How do you think this changes the way these two teams like to play?
I think it's even more pressure onto vertical flankers. They were already looking that direction with that Eevee, but I fully expect to see the Maves, the Bucks still remaining, and Droxus even in the mix here. It's just so important to have that high ground, and Ruckus, even though he kind of bypassed the bans last time, he'll be, I think, taken here. He just does so much when combined with those flankers. Either that or we see a hard plop our feet inside the quarry and wait for you to come to us and hopefully have at least one person to contest above.
We'll have to see which way these teams want to go as they're starting off with a Mave ban, kind of as expected, like you said. And Io comes up next. Feel like these frontliners, I mean, so much of our discussion coming into that last game was which frontline tank was going to be able to stay safer between the Ashe and the Makoa as they were both solo tanking. The solo tank Ashe clearly works out well enough in that last game, but do you think that we could see these teams go back to something like that after a performance like we saw?
I think so. I mean, looking at the damage, he actually ended up out-damaging Logi on that solo tank Ashe, so I fully expect them to be willing to go that direction if they're that comfortable with it. And again with this Torvald ban, and I love Torvald, I think it's great, but Yoinkers have clearly shown they're not interested in taking it, and then they don't think it's worthwhile, and by banning that, they let this Genos through, who, with that damage boost, obviously he helped kind of overwhelm them on that last game, the bit of damage he adds, the ultimate first setup, and makes ClownFiesta take this Corvus here to avoid playing against Logi and Prosper with double pockets.
What do you make of the fact that Genos and Corvus, the two highest priority supports besides Io, have a 17 and a 29% win rate between the two of them? Pretty low for both of them. What does that tell you?
It tells me that Io is very good, and every time she gets through against them, she beats them most of the time. Yeah. It just kind of dominates that side of the game. Plus, they keep getting picked together, and those teams that do that, I know it can work, but they haven't executed the rest of it well. I think we saw how well it could work with those flankers. It just didn't really pair off as effectively, but we'll see what is going to happen here with them against each other. The Strix to pair to take that away from Prosper on the other side, but just give him Vivian instead. Have that reveal for the Strix, and they'll lean back on that Ashe again. Good Lad looked great on it. If they're going to end up with solo tank Ashe, at least Clown are going to be happy with the con in response.
Ruckus still available, though, and something that we could see for either team still, I think, if they'd like it. But seems like Buck bringing that verticality back once again. As you mentioned, they had it on the Stone Keep. Obviously did not pan out in that final fight, but overall I think was pretty good. As was the Eevee, which did pan out quite nicely in that final fight for Logi. No reason to take him off of a pick like Eevee, which feels to me like a rhythm style of pick anyways. You know, once you get to play that Eevee and you get a little warm, you get to play 7 points in a row. I like going back to it right away as Rom gets all the way down to final pick here for this Yoinkers squad.
And I'm shocked that they didn't get the Ruckus, but I understand going for Rom with him open, even though I think this is a better map for Ruckus. The Rom can buy so much time if that's what you're really concerned about. Him in the back line, his ban rate being 75%, I think, shows the effectiveness and how much they really kind of respect him in Europe. But I like the response of Terminus. I think he's great into Vivian. Crush can go through the shield, and if you siphon on who the Rom wants to shoot, you can deny him soul fragments. Do that for long enough, and you can burn him down without him getting any of his sustain.
Do you think that this draft is good enough, though, Kresnik, to avoid going down 2-0 if you're ClownFiesta?
After how Logi played last game, it's so hard to say, because if he plays just the same and gets on that Strix, there's no way the term's going to be with them. If they just shut down the Strix, then I think ClownFiesta could struggle inside Quarry.
All eyes on Logi's Eevee. Something tells me Yoinkers wouldn't have it any other way. Game 2, starting right now.
As usual, you two. And I'm interested to see how this ROM plays into Terminus as well, because I think Chris brought up a very great point. It counters ROM pretty hard when he's shooting into a siphon. And Terminus can block so many different areas that ROM might try to attack from that he never gets those soul fragments to give himself that second health bar. That might be the crux in Yoinkers' draft.
And just don't shoot into the siphon, Forehead, right? No, either way, it's a little more difficult than that as it comes forward. Enforcer, that's going to be run here, just making sure you have that damage reduction while using Juggernaut. It's like you said, outside of, realistically where I think Ninu is going to give him a lot of trouble, I don't know if there's a lot that does control this ROM, though. That's the real problem I think I see, is that, yes, you can stop him from being as tanky and this giant Juggernaut that's in your face, but if you're not on top of that, then I don't know that you're going to be able to stop him. He's going to be able to dash to the back line pretty easily and consistently, and I think he's going to give a lot of trouble, especially considering the rest of Yoinkers got back here along with him.
Strix is screaming right now. I can hear it in his headset. There are 3 people that are in the back line trying to kill him. They managed to get him, but they at least trade out their healer. They just did a little bit of the ring around the rosy sort of deal. They got the kill on the support, but they trade out their DPS for it. I'd say that's a worthy trade. They don't have their healing as frequently anymore either. Logi gets a good couple shots, but of course it's going to get brought down. They don't have a healer like I mentioned before on the side of Yoinkers, but they managed to find 2 Exentra, Boca. They both went down. They may have overextended, but nobody touched the cart. Nobody touched the objective. Rom runs through, but he gets there at the last possible second, and they managed to commit to that full-on point capture on the side of ClownFiesta.
Is that Ninu on term? Yeah, he just stood there. Like, he didn't do anything. There was no fancy play. There was no, like, crazy, oh, we outbrained you. He just stood on the point, and Yoinkers didn't. That one is not, there's not a lot of in-depth analysis there. Yoinkers win the fight. They play it better. And ClownFiesta win because their focus was on the mid as opposed to around Lava side, where Yoinkers were finding a lot of their victories. Now, are they going to be able to do anything with that payload? Right now, the answer is a very loud, resounding, echoing through the quarry, no. That payload is not moving at all, and they are just getting their world rocked. But the fact that they cap it, I think, showcases that Yoinkers need to kind of reprioritize where some of their aggression is going to be, or where their focus, at least, is going to be. Because otherwise, I don't know. It feels always awkward when a fight goes that way and someone's able to capture it just 100-0 without having to stress too much. So I think Yoinkers still have a really good draft, and they've been winning the fights pretty consistently. It's just where they focus their priorities from this point forward.
Yeah, maybe they'll be able to stop things in the ensuing rounds, and maybe ClownFiesta won't quite be able to roll this card in, but only time will be able to be the true teller of that story. Ice Storm gets dropped. Logi tries to find a good opportunity. Not Ice Storm, excuse me. He blinks in and manages to get a couple shots. It doesn't quite find the opportunity there. Good lad with a double kill, focusing on so many. They move up into the top and make sure they take care of FRZO. The rest of them that are up there have to back off, but Alex wants to go in a little bit more. It gets punished by Logi, and now Simsalu is the next one that gets taken out of the fray. Terminus, the last man standing, last bastion of hope for ClownFiesta, is not going to be holding on for much longer. Everyone's been killed, and Yoinkers have turned the situation around once again. It may have been 100-0 on the side of the point capture, but they're not about to let it be 2-0. That's what they're telling me right now.
Yeah, so I think that's what we would like to call in Paladins. A fluke is the best way to describe it. Like, ClownFiesta are a good team, and they have a good draft, but they did not win this point by being the better team in a way. Like, they have been losing these fights heavily, consistently, and they've been going so far in favor of Yoinkers. And the draft, I think this ROM is just kind of running rampant into the face of ClownFiesta. I think, the Genos is providing maybe too much. The good counter that could be available for ROM not being on the side of ClownFiesta. And they don't have a very consistent way to lock him down. That power siphon is troublesome, but so far I haven't seen Ninu in a good position to slow it down. 6-0-5 right now for Goodlad, 3-0-12 for Prosper. Logi was on another insane streak as well. Yeah, 5-2-3. So maybe not quite as flashy as the off tank and the carry here, but for Yoinkers, that's a solid lineup that everyone's performing really well. If you had asked anyone covering up the scoreboard at any point who was winning this game, it's hands down Yoinkers right now. And so ClownFiesta have to completely revitalize whatever they were doing this round, because you aren't going to get away with that a second time, right? You're not going to be allowed to just stand on the point without them focusing on it. And I think you can see that from Yoinkers' approach to this round.
It seems like Alex wants to move around with Khan at least. They managed to get the net shot off. Slow down Logi a little bit, but he does escape. That is an Eevee, and doesn't matter what it is you have. They end up using the overpower as well. Do they get the kill? They do. They end up taking care of Etsu, but they trade things out with Boca. Prosper Logic in the back, making sure he takes care of Boca, having a good enough line of sight to immediately focus onto the Corvus. Buck goes down. Khan goes down. And now, like you mentioned before, they're not about to let this happen again. They're going to make sure they get the kills and now get themselves some own percentage on the point. How good is the zone they have, though? Rom, of course, can get those dismounts like he's trying to do, but Logi wants to take a different route. He wants to be more aggressive. Blinks in, gets the shot, then blinks right back out. And Khan is getting melted right now. The Ice Storm gets dropped. They take care of him. He is gone. Thanos snapped out of existence as Buck has to try and find some way around to get there, but assert dominance. The flag is planted in the high ground. Cataclysm rings true in the mine shaft. Double kill already for Rom. Prosper Logic finds another kill as well. They end up getting the heal off. Buck is there, but how much longer will he be able to survive? That's his only objective right now as a fight is breaking out on the point and trying to see if they can stall this out a little bit longer. They managed to get one. Sure, you got Prosper, but you have to deal with the rest of the team. The Cavalry already ready to fight is going to be able to stop them in their tracks. A mortal kill streak for Good Lad as he decides to sprint once again into the back, looking for Strix, and finds another kill. That's another double for Good Lad as the ROM is running rampant.
I think we ban ROM next game. I don't know. Call it a hunch. Maybe I don't know if I'm making a deep dive for this one. Maybe the branch I'm standing on is too flimsy. But I think it's a worthy ban. I think I'm understanding why it's banned all the time. I'm actually curious as to how far. I mean, it went down, what, 9th pick overall? Maybe 8th pick overall there for Yoinkers. So, I mean, it was not necessarily high priority either, but it is just demanding attention this game. And there's not a lot you can do against it. And so far, I would give the 20 streak Good Lad pretty much 90% of the credit right now for what Yoinkers are accomplishing. I think everyone else has a little bit of a hand in it, but you definitely have to give credit where credit's due, and Good Lad is a huge driving factor for this team and how far this payload has gone so far.
It just seems like there's a minute and 20 seconds still on the clock, so obviously Yoinkers have plenty of time to roll this one in. It's a matter of whether ClownFiesta can hold on that long or not, because once Yoinkers has their ultimates, they have shown they will use them. They're not afraid to dive as deep as they possibly can if it means that they'll end up cementing themselves kills and more opportunities to roll this card, make this uneven, make it a 3-1 as they're holding Mineshaft pretty well. They have the overpower though. Everyone's sort of biding their time, spreading out damage. Simsalute moving from one target to the next, seeing if he can plug damage, lower those health bars, make it harder for them to roll this cart right on in. Shoulder bash all the way in. Logi gets the kill. Etsu may have been a little bit more aggressive, but they left the Genos alone. Logi does come back, tries to stop Simsalute, but you can see the Buck coming around the corner, blinks in and blinks back out, trying to put on the juke shoes, trying to make sure he can shoot around that shield. Khan goes out, grabs the ROM, who's trying to sprint away, but he might even be able to escape. He doesn't, barely makes it out alive, and is going to get killed on his way out. 25 seconds as somebody's mounted and ready. Ash is back there on the objective, or at least about to be, waiting and biding her time to make sure she can get that overtime touch when necessary for her team. They even have the assert dominance, like we've seen before. They're not afraid to use the ultimates if they need to.
Yeah, honestly, and he's in a good position to dunk down right onto the payload just in time to keep things going. I like this even more. Getting that control, not quite jumping down in time. That's a little curious from Yoinkers, although good kills from ClownFiesta that come through to make sure things stay their way. I really wish, and this is just a side tangent, again, for those who don't know, when you get a lot of kills in Paladins in a row, you get on one of those streaks, and it has to be from kills, not just assists, and you die to someone, the percentage that you give to their ultimate goes up the bigger streak you are on. Good Lad had 13 kills before he died. Ninu got credit for the kill, but was already at 100%. I just wish I could have seen how much he would have gotten there, because it has been lowered as time has gone on. But we have seen in the past, you know, people who are 25-0 in terms of their kills, and they will give a full reset to an ult bar. That's the thing that makes it so interesting. So I guess Good Lad died in maybe the best chance and the best case, where he didn't give that ult charge to anybody that didn't already have it.
Oh, I can't believe Rom even got that far in the back. They didn't even dismount. He was mounted up for so long, and now he's already on top of the Strix. He's trying to see if he can pin him down. 42% for ClownFiesta. They're all worried about the Rom on the side here, that they're losing members by the minute on this in the game, as Splitstone is getting more and more dire for ClownFiesta. Sure, they're on the objective. They have their opportunity to make it back to the point, but it's a matter of how easily can they do that. It seems like the last time this happened, they were willing to dedicate everything, the Cataclysm, the Ice Storm, the Assert Dominance, even though they've already used it. They used everything to make sure that ClownFiesta couldn't make it back. And you already see that he's pretty much living in the backline. They forced the Buck all the way back into their spawn, keeping a pin on him. It's hard for him to make it back in time. They have the res. I imagine he uses it now, and he does as he manages to come right back up through time and space on the immediate respawn. Boca doesn't get a chance to use that Entropic Reach to give himself some DR. Commander's grab goes out. They got Vivian, FRC, and Prosper both down, but that doesn't matter because Yoinkers are still in the lead. Drop the Ice Storm, drop everything. The ultimates are all said and done, just like this round is. The point is captured by Yoinkers to make it a 3-2.
Look, there's a lot going right. Prosper Logic's playing well. Logi warmed up already on this EV's playing incredibly well. The same thing could be said for the Ashe and the Genos here for Yoinkers. But at the end of the day, Goodlad is just showing all sorts of force against ClownFiesta and making it his own game. I mean, ClownFiesta have not been able to do anything about this ROM consistently. The one death has not made even a dent in what he has wanted to accomplish, except for maybe stopping that conversion. But right now, on this payload push, if they can get it going again, this is a position where Yoinkers, especially if Goodlad can keep this pressure up, would convert this and potentially win the map on this. I mean, Fun, there's not many other ways to say it. Right now, Yoinkers are just playing better than ClownFiesta. They are just outright playing better Paladins.
You're 100% right. I apologize for giggling, but I'm just watching Goodlad just on Boca the entire, not one person can come back to help him. He is running him down. Every projection gets caught by Rom Sprint. He's ready to stay on top of that healer. That's the type of communication and presence of mind you need to make sure that you can win this match, to make sure that you can convert this to a 4-2. And it seems like that's what they want to do. The recovery is done. Alex gets killed. He's moving right on in. The Sprint breaking them out, if anything. The Heelys are too much for them to handle. He's sprinting right on through the competition as Rom skates his way back onto the objective. Nothing left for ClownFiesta to do. They tried to fight, but you should have thought better than that. Yoinkers make this a 4-2 and cement a 2-0.
Look, ClownFiesta struggled with Yoinkers throughout the regular season, so it's maybe not surprising to see them fall behind right now. But I think, I mean, given the merits this team has, you know, their ceiling is so high. They're so capable of so much. I mean, you've got previous LAN champions, previous world champions on this ClownFiesta squad, and yet they just aren't good enough right now to deal with Yoinkers. They need to figure out what they're doing in Game 3, or they gotta hope that they figure it out if they can make it back to them. Because as of right now, Yoinkers, they look like they're going to be going to the finals.
What another match to be able to watch, man. I mean, at first Clown had managed to get 100% to nothing against Yoinkers, and now we have a situation like this where Yoinkers just reverse sweeps them 4-2. Let's give it back to the desk, get their thoughts.
An unbelievable performance once again by Yoinkers. At some point I might get sick of saying that, but we'll figure that out as the day goes on. ClownFiesta looked okay in this one, Krez. I mean, they put up a pretty decent fight, but at the end of the day, Yoinkers just continues to be built a little bit different.
Yeah, the way that they played their ROM was basically unstoppable. We run his POV for a lot of the offense, and I completely understand why. He was literally just running through the entire team. We had a perfect view of the entire side of the map because he was on both sides, just running through all of them, unstoppable. The only one who could maybe put a dent in him was Simsaloo, and I felt like he was under so much pressure from the rest of the team during most of these fights.
Well, it was Goodlad on the solo tank Ashe last game, if my memory serves me properly, and then here on this ROM, it's been a pretty good day for him either way, up against ClownFiesta. And when you got to go up against your toughest competition in your region, got to have some of your players step up, and Goodlad certainly has done that. 75,000 damage. This is a tank, Kresnik. That's not allowed. You shouldn't be allowed to get that much damage on a tank.
It's just part of being constantly in the fight, right? His damage, it's not high in terms of output, but he just didn't die. He didn't die basically the entire time. Look at his elims to his KDA. It was so close. He basically lived through everything and never stopped shooting. It just adds up over time when you're able to get away with that, having your runs not be stopped. Look, he went 15 and 1 here on the ROM because they just could not stop him from running through them.
Is that good? I'm not so sure how good that is. How about Prosper Logic going 15-4 and 27? Those two were literally just holding down left click, right trigger, whatever you want to call it. They were making it work in this one for Yoinkers. They were absolutely peppering the enemy. 100,000 damage for Prosper Logic. Etsu and Laji not to be outdone either. They put up big damage numbers. When you look at the scoreline, it's surprising that it felt as close as it did at times because ClownFiesta did look okay through a pretty good majority of that game. It just felt like it came away from them towards the end.
I think it was a part of Yoinkers being able to escape a lot of the situations, right? As soon as things started going badly, they would just have an Ash dash out, or the ROM would run away, or the Eevee would blink out, right? So when they lost a fight, it wasn't necessarily they would be wiped. They would go, all right, hold, let's reset, let's figure out what we want to do. And that shows, good teamwork, good patience, and recognizing when a situation goes bad to not feed credits and not feed more ult charge.
ClownFiesta now backs against the wall. Map 3 coming up, and it's going to be Ascension Peak. This is one, anytime I see a map that's typically banned come in, it makes me think that this team must have been working on this map. To leave it unbanned, they probably hope the enemy team does the same. They can pick it in times like this. ClownFiesta, I hope, since this is their map pick, are going to be feeling pretty confident on this one.
Yeah, you think so. They can play that point fight, I think, as chaotically as they want. This is a map where you're going to be contesting it pretty much the entire time. And they finally dropped the Torvald ban. They target that Genos that Yoinkers has felt clearly comfortable on for the last couple of games, and they can now maybe pick it for themselves. Maybe they can ban one of these aggro tanks that Yoinkers have been able to utilize, whether it be the Ashe, whether it be the ROM. But Yoinkers, we'll see how things shift for them now that they're finally in that second pick slot. And Makoa, he'll be good on this map. Hooks the shield on the point, makes things really effective. They don't want to get CC'd out of their off-tank mobility.
So 2 supports taken away by ClownFiesta. They take away the Genos and the IO. Makes me think that maybe Corvus' first pick could be in the cards potentially for them. But Torvald is open, Ashe is open, Ruckus. I mean, you've got a lot. ROM, of course, that you could go to. This is the first time we've seen Torvald in quite some time. He was banned almost all of yesterday as well. First pick here today in Europe. How do you think he fits in on Ascension Peak?
He's another pocket. He'll be able to keep their team alive, and also really hurts aggression. When you want to get super forward, when you want to dive in, similar to what Yoinkers did last game with that ROM and that Ashe, if their target gets bubbled, if they get silenced on the way in by this Torvald, it makes things so much harder. He basically has, once he gets Chronos 3, he has almost 100% uptime on those bubbles and makes things really hard for them. But Yoinkers, they can play a little bit pokey in response, and it's exactly what they've started to do. They have the Strix and the Corvus. We know it's going to be Prosper on that Strix. We know he's going to look like a monster, and the Corvus struggled last game into the crazy aggression. Now could be on 2 teams that aren't necessarily running each other down. This is where we're going to be able to see him thrive.
But that leaves ROM open, and you want to talk about someone who could really benefit from being pocketed. True. Feels like ROM is kind of that guy for you, and you don't have to worry about the Genos hold at the same time. I like this ROM selection already for ClownFiesta. They go to the Eevee as well, as that has been problematic for them. Up against it at the very least on the other side for Yoinkers. But Strix has been so dominant here, Kresnik. I mean, almost a 75% win rate picked in nearly every single game. He's been making it work regardless of team composition that he's in or map that he's on. Strix has looked really good.
This is going to be a better look from Clown, I think, though, because of just diving onto him with characters that won't die instantly, right? Even Prosper's insane. Even if he hits point-blank headshots on the Eevee coming in, if she's bubbled, she'll be okay. She could win that duel. ROM will make it even harder with the knockups. The biggest issue is going to be flashbangs in the later game, but this first mid, when they get aggressive, especially with his Xin going with them too, Clown have completely pivoted from what I expected in terms of how their comp would play out. Hard aggression backed up by this Torvald instead of this anti-dive style that he tends to succeed in a little bit more. They're going to be just running at Prosper all game, and now Yoinkers have to find a way to slow it down, and the 2 archers, they're the ones that are going to do it with their little bits of CC, with their reveals, and the cripple that Shaolin brings to the table.
So plenty of damage here from Yoinkers trying to lock down this ROM in particular, it feels like. But can Khan solo tank up against Torvald and ROM together? Do you think Yoinkers is going into the finals on a 3-0 victory?
I think they could, but ClownFiesta could just ignore that Khan and go past him completely. It's about how much of a threat Good Lad can make himself while watching a ROM, an Eevee, and a Xin go flying past him while he tries to cap the point.
He'll say, "Good luck, Prosper. Hope you're having fun back there. I'll be standing on the point over here." ClownFiesta gonna have to make something happen if they want to come back in this one. A finals berth on the line, just 1 map away for Yoinkers.
Great job on the desk. This is set point, and we could be ending things on Ascension Peak. Torvald gets let through. No ban available for him whatsoever. They're actually going to lock it in on the opposite side. ClownFiesta are going to be the ones that choose him. How do you feel like that will fare? Does it put a damper on Yoinkers' sort of perspective here? Do they even worry about the point? He's going storm of bullets. It doesn't seem like they want to worry about the point.
Yeah, this almost feels, especially like you said, going storm of bullets, like their mentality on Yoinkers was, you know what? Let's just go quad DPS. Khan, you're fat DPS now. Fat Victor, as we like to call him. Maybe not as potent as he used to be in that role. It's definitely going to be difficult. Rom, we saw how much of a menace he could be. Now amplify that with a Torvald bubble if he does ever find himself in true danger. Same thing there of Eevee and or Xin. If they find themselves in trouble, that Torvald bubble will come through. It's just going to be an uphill battle for Yoinkers, but not something they can't necessarily handle. It's just going to have to be handled very carefully and maybe aggressively at that. It seems like they counteract each other, but careful aggression is the way they need to go in. Choose the right moments to engage, find the right kills, look for the right target, and more importantly, try to kill off that Torvald as fast as you can.
Both teams are playing pretty carefully. Simply being aggressive by blinking in and blinking back out, but even still, it makes it a little bit harder for them to try and push in. It seems like they're losing a lot of these engagements. That Torvald bubble is playing a huge role into how things actually are going for them. It seems like Sinsalu's out for blood, though, wants to take care of the Shaolin, lowered him good enough to the point to where they could be concerned. Rom moves in, they want to try and take this first blood, and they do. Etsu goes down, and it's a matter of how it proceeds from here. 96% on the point, and 99 to point captured already for ClownFiesta. They move all the way into the back. Simsalu is there, and this may be their draft that they've been looking for. Rom knocks him over like bowling pins and uses the Cataclysm in the back line, catches two. Will they find any? They'll find the Cassie, but what about the rest of them? Now everyone else tries to come through to try and peel for that Cassie. Now they might be in a worse off spot than before. Exentra goes down. No more Torvald, no more Ninu, no more Sims, no more Alex, no more team, if anything. The only one remaining is this Maldamba trying to escape, and even he gets shot in the back. Arrow rains true and finds its mark. Logi finds that last hit, and they are able to hold on.
Timer won't give it to him, but I will. That's a quadra kill, essentially, for Logi. I mean, he gets a triple for the defense, and then that last hit onto the Maldamba to make it 4. That's just well played from Yoinkers. I was going to make a remark about how you were seeing part of the map that you should not be seeing until the last end of the push. And I think Yoinkers wanted to make it a little bit faster than me in terms of pushing them back. There's a lot of good choke points for them to try and lock ClownFiesta at now, but I think we've seen what we need to know how aggressive ClownFiesta can play and how difficult it's going to be to punish them. Again, a triple kill, maybe effective quadra kill, right, that comes down from the Shaolin doesn't happen all the time. So there's going to be a lot of work to be done on the side of Yoinkers to make sure that they can consistently find wins, because as of right now, it's not going their way once again.
FRZO, Logi, both are down. Exentra, not Exentra, excuse me, Goodlad is the only one that's managed to find a kill onto Exentra. And they're at least able to try and make things work out maybe a little bit better for them, but even still, losing that healer so early, the Ice Storm dedicated to making sure they get that kill onto the Corvus, means that they are the ones on the back pedal here. They're on the back foot. They can't really push in like that, but Khan opts to drop down anyway. Wants to see if he can try and find any damage to spread out. Meanwhile, Corvus is trying to do his best to help out where he can. When he's not healing, he's shooting. That submachine gun will really just rip, if anything, through somebody's health bar if you aren't too careful. Torvald ultimate Exentra with a double push off the side. My goodness. That was absolutely insane. I think Alex managed to make it back, Logi managed to make it back onto the objective before he got pushed off, but even still, lined that one up perfectly.
I mean, all in all, being able to find that's the glory of Torvald. And again, much like Connell, on certain maps, it's better to just use it when you have it in moments of stress like that, when you are just going to guarantee yourself a 2-0, as opposed to holding it. I mean, what are you going to get? This point when it comes to the mid-fight is so gargantuan. It's so difficult to control. I don't think you really need that pushback when you are around here. But hey, on a payload, especially as it's about to convert, get them on out of here. Make sure they know that they're not welcome. And I think that's a good play from ClownFiesta as a whole. Gets them on the board, gets them that 2-0. Again, backs against the wall, getting knocked down to the lower bracket. Just one win to try and stabilize here is really helpful.
Let's see how they adapt this time. They want to be more aggressive here. This is the same situation they had last time, but Logi is able to at least move in, get the kill, and Strix goes invisible. Once again, shot in the back with a cripple arrow. Ninu is going to get taken out of the fray here as well. With 23% to 15, Yoinkers is maintaining so much control something they lacked last round. They managed to find. They were being aggressive this time, grouped up way too much on the right-hand side, and they're even ready to meet them on the right-hand side. Once again, they group up and move over, trying to see whatever they can find to get any shots in. Moving to the back line is Alex, as he tries to get too many kills time and time again, manages to find 2. Torvald bubble keeps him alive. Maldambagor gets tossed out. The stun is directly onto Khan. They're going to focus on him, but Alex has other plans. He wants to get rid of Logi. Next one is Spited, is Good Lad, and then the final one that falls is FRZO. What seemed to be a good fight for Yoinkers to start off with ends with ClownFiesta.
Now with one more hit onto the Cassie, doesn't look like they're going to find it too. The Strix as well, incredibly low. It looks like it should be a capture at this point for ClownFiesta. Really good zone. Yoinkers, even though they were able to get to that 99, just weren't able to hold on to it. And so ClownFiesta showcasing that they are not someone that can be walked over. And this is what I was kind of missing in games 1 and 2. Look, this is the ClownFiesta I expect to see come and play. And granted, they do get pretty hefty draft on their side this time around, but it is something that I have expected. This team we know is capable of so much, and we haven't gotten to see it as much this set as I would have liked. So finally being able to give a little bit of pushback to Yoinkers, but I don't know, Fawn, even with the way things are going, I'm timid to say they control the rest of this game. They're up 3-0, they are over 60% of this push, and yet there's still that Yoinkers factor that they've had in Europe all phase 2 that makes me a little worried for ClownFiesta.
I'm a little bit worried for ClownFiesta as well, but certainly not now. It doesn't seem like there's much to be concerned about here as Nunu manages to find the kill. Sure, they got rid of Simsy. That's a good 1-for-1 trade. Gets the overpower, though. Toss him off the side. So now they've traded 2 for 2. It's a 3v3 immediately, and they managed to get the kill on Etsu. Who else will be the next one to touch? Can they even find an opportunity to touch the objective? I don't know if they can. Goes invisible. The beautiful Torvald ultimate to keep him in base. ClownFiesta clean this one up, dust their hands off, making it a 4-0.
2 hyper beams, 2 conversions. I mean, it goes back to what Aggro said, right? When you have this map, specifically one that gets banned a ton, and it makes it through those bans, usually it's because one team is crossing their fingers, the other side won't do it, and they get that opportunity to just go, okay, cool, we're down 2-0, we're going to map 3, losers pick, or you're down 1-1, going to map 3, losers pick. Either way you get there, you then lock in one that you know you're going to be able to win. You find a 4-0 here, you stabilize if you're ClownFiesta. Now they just have to start climbing the other direction and try to find 2 more.
It seems like they've managed to sort of find their stride here. Ascension Peak, you mentioned it. It typically gets banned, but not this time. It's going to make sure that they don't end up getting 3-0. They make this a 1-2 so far. Still in favor of Yoinkers, but we're going to cut to a quick break, and when we come back, we'll see how the rest of the set shapes up.
Well, ClownFiesta goes to their map and looks a lot better. In fact, a lot better. They just 4-0'd Yoinkers in a match that did not take much time at all. How about that, Kresnik? Feels like we got a series now.
Yeah, I think I understand why they were banning Torvald now. Maybe, I mean, I kind of got it before, but I think Yoinkers now maybe understand what it can do, just letting that Xin run absolutely wild in the backline the entire time. Nothing they did stopped it. There was just too much sustain, and when you win 4-0 like that, they can't itemize against you. The Wreckers don't make a difference, the caught doesn't make a difference, it just helps you snowball that game so hard.
Pedal to the metal was the name of the game here for ClownFiesta. And Alex really got to reap the benefits. You mentioned the Torvald shield, getting that little bit of healing from Aldamba as well. Alex was on an absolute rampage in this one. The solo tank con, it kind of worked out exactly like you said. He's just going to watch as everyone else zooms by him, and they'll come back and clean him up a little bit later on. They'll take their time with him because his backline just was not able to survive.
There's no way you can. You just don't win those duels. You just can't do it. And this is also a map where that Hyper Beam got value too, so maybe you delay long enough to fight against that, and then suddenly you're all getting sent flying off the map because no one was paying attention to Torvald while this Xin was running all over you.
Well, at the end of the day, Logi's scoreline looks pretty good, so he can at least say it wasn't his fault. You know, 9-4-1, certainly not bad in a losing effort. But on the other side, you look at Alex, of course, 8-1-6, Bolka 2-1-11. Of course, providing that sustain that you would expect out of a Aldamba. But you got to look at that shielding number, man. 70,000 shielding, nearly 71K shielding from Exentra made a massive difference.
And that was doubling the Khan, who was under a lot of pressure with all that shielding you put up, but that's just constant. Imagine that as damage being taken away from everyone else, right? That's damage that 70,000 damage that Alex didn't have to take on a 2,000 health character, roughly. That is, you know, so many deaths. That's 35 deaths he would have died effectively without the Torvald there. So think about the game that differently. Alex, the performance definitely enabled by that Torv, and I fully expect, or I hope, for Yoinkers' sake, they can adapt, because this pick has not been taken in EU at all, and ClownFiesta seem to be the only ones aware of it.
Well, Ice Mines is coming up next, and we know what that means. Usually some pretty long competitive games take place here on the Ice Mines. You gotta like the odds, though, if you're Yoinkers. You still only have to win 1 out of the next 2, but taking a beating like you just did, I think sometimes almost makes it easier because you can write it off as a huge draft problem. You know, you can say, oh, you know, we just won't let Torvald through, and that obviously won't happen to us again. Now, they have to not let Torvald through, which is going to be pretty important. And this scares me a little bit because, sure, Zin's really good and deserving of bans at times. But that's not the problem, fellas. It was the enabler. They're treating the symptom, not the disease, and it looks like that trend may continue. Now, ClownFiesta has the chance to ban the Torvald themselves if they're scared that Yoinkers may pick it first. They'll call the bluff and go with a Vivian ban, and here is where Yoinkers locks in Torvald. Here we go. Torvald.
Wait. It might happen.
Torvald.
I would love to see it. Makoa. Same thing. Same thing practically, right? He has a shield.
No.
It's
just
circular.
Well, yeah, it stands around him.
You can stand in it. You can stand in it, though. It can work for you, and they're going to get Torvald on the side of ClownFiesta.
But Kresnik,
definitely.
Look, you're the expert here. You're the expert here, but it doesn't move with you like Torvald's shield does, right? Like, it stays put.
If you don't run half shell, it can. But then they'd have to sacrifice half shell, and then the Koa isn't shooting while it's working. Makoa's great, and he can be okay into Torvald. If the Torvald overextends, he has no way to block the hook. He just has to take it at that point. But they've also now given up Io as well to this team. This is double pocket support. It's almost in the same vein as Genos Corvus. So now they need a lot of very powerful DPS to get these bubbles, to get this damage reduction, and to find a way past this Makoa and Terminus, which is not the worst tank op in the world. Plus, the Yoinkers now have the Grover CC to back it up as well.
Yeah, a lot going for them so far, I think, Yoinkers in their draft, but we saw how dominant Torvald just looked. Hard to think that it's going to be anything but. We also talked about how dominant the IO has been up against other supports. And now you lock in an Inara, I mean, you're going to have a lot of HP to chew through if you're Yoinkers. They've saved their last 2 DPS picks for last, so you know they're going to have the option. As now Sky comes through, that's even more healing if we see that Smoke and Dagger. I mean, this is this is going to be a tough comp to beat, I think, unless you can take it late and get a lot of cauterize and a lot of wrecker going on your side.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe like a Tyra from Yoinkers or a Willow even, just to get rid of that AoE and do a lot of spam onto them and have the DR to live, right? All of them could work here. A Grok Hover actually is kind of sick here because you don't have any way to block the Grok damage. It bounces off of everybody. You can speed into the Torvald and the Io and the Sky, and that's what they're gonna lock in. Grok is great on this map. Clown don't have a way to deal with it. They need to pick up a blaster in this last rotation, I think, whether it be a Bomb King or that Willow. And they take Maeve? On Ice
That's not a
Mines?
blaster.
And it's also not great on this map in general, unless they're on Street Justice, but I don't think you should do that against Grover and Grok.
This is going to be a fun one to watch, man. A lot of left turns taken in this draft. Come on, you didn't expect a Grok versus Maeve on Ice Mines, Kresnik? I thought you were the guy. You didn't see
The
this
Grok
coming?
is great! The Grok is great. I'm supposed to guess good decisions. I'm not supposed to guess bad decisions. That's what's happening.
Right.
I'm not sure about this Maeve. I don't love it. I think I hate it, but we'll see what Clown can do with it. They have super talented players, and Alex can pop off on this Maeve if you let him.
And he can certainly do it, but might be a little bit more difficult than it needed to be. Should be a fun Game 4 to watch. Can ClownFiesta force us to 5?
Grok, 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 Grok. That's all I can say about that one. I mean, it's been so long since we've actually seen a Grok be locked in as a serious pick, and I think it's a great pick at that as well, to be able to see this Grok come out, really bounce his shock pulses in between Luna and Inara. I just don't know, man. I love it. It's been so long since we've seen him.
Yeah, he's got a lot of really good targets and a lot of good damage that's going to come true with this one. The only thing I will say, though, that I think I can contradict against Kresnik, and it will because it's Cat Burglar here for the Maeve. If it is Alex playing it, it is the first time Alex has been allowed to play this Maeve, at least that I've seen in what feels like weeks. I mean, he is an absolute menace on this pick. And so maybe something that comes through as a merit for ClownFiesta is the fact that Alex is just an insanely good Maeve player. But it is a little shaky, not necessarily her best map, especially when you're going up against Prosper Logic here on the Grok, something he used to love to run in the console league before the crossplay was enabled here for the PPC this year. So that's something that he's too foreign with, but you can bet ClownFiesta are going to look to control mids with this kind of composition.
21% to 12. It's ClownFiesta. Everyone's pretty much been stepping on and off of the point, just dancing on it and off. They're all grouped up, ready to make sure this Grok actually works. Etsu is going to be able to get the kill, but same thing can be said for Excentra. How well is the Shock Pulse going to play? He steps down into the wrong area. The Shock Pulse spreads directly to Alex. He gets killed. Grok drops down the totem for an opportunity to keep bouncing those Shock Pulses. It's so hard to deal with. It's so shocking to see all this damage come through, and the Maelstrom's already good to go. It's going to be rough. It's gonna be rough trying to fight into this, especially when you have so many targets to bounce off the shock pulses.
I mean, there's so many easy targets, like you just said. Plus, I mean, Grover's just going to line them up for you. You hit deep roots and they're grouped up. Now they're all locked down. Like, it's even easier for Prosper Logic. And there's that old, how fast it charges, the healing, the move speed. I don't know.
Oof.
This pick just feels real good for Ice Mines and not so hot for ClownFiesta.
The Tempest comes through. Look at Inara's health pool. It's getting burnt down. He's here. It's the Grok. Baby, Inara's trapped between a Grok and a hard place as he gets himself a double kill. Prosper Logic manages to pop off on this character and makes this a 1-0 on Ice Mines.
I mean, this amount of damage is just going to continue going forward. You saw just a second ago he's at the top of the damage charts. I expect that to stay the same for Prosper Logic. It's not necessarily a place that he is foreign to overall, although he loses it to the Sky here. So maybe something that Yoinkers are going to have to do in order to keep up. Although he caught up real fast. He was 3,000 down. Now he has taken over. So maybe I counted him out a little bit too quickly. If they continue on this pace for Yoinkers, then, I mean, we're looking at ClownFiesta having to go up against Celestial. And, you know, that's a matchup I think they are favored in, but it's a very dangerous game when you see how flexible Yoinkers are. They are able to deal with it, though, so they get to push that conversation to another time because they're not out yet.
Logis is engaging in one-on-one. I was going to say a one-on-one with the Inara, but the rest of the team is already there, ready to provide any sort of peel that might be necessary. It was looking a little bit rough at first. They did lose one, But Alex has such a hard time diving into the back. You're dealing with a Grok and a Grover. That is not something easy to dive into. And I think it's showing just how hard they have to play in order to make this work out for them. Those shock pulses are really adding up. They may not do that much damage initially, but considering the fact that he's going that Maelstrom, it's gonna hit a lot more consistently than normal. The cart's still rolling right on through as they are struggling to hold this high ground. They're slowly inching their way forward. Hooks him in, drags him there, and he gets crippled. Torvald is the next one on the menu as the Tempest comes out. There's full sending already. Time bomb may be ticking, but they don't care because it seems like Logi finds himself a double kill. The shock pulses keep on spreading, and they're still moving in. The Grok is still ripping through targets one after the other. The wall goes up, but you can't hide from him as he drops down. The Makoa is going to be there, 2 healers to make sure they have the pocket. The cart was about to roll in, but they are able to stall it at the last possible second. It's looking rougher by the minute for ClownFiesta.
30 seconds still left. Regrouping from Yoinkers. Not a lot of aggression or areas to be aggressive for ClownFiesta. They're just going to have to defend this the old-fashioned way in this courtyard and from the base. Not a lot of cover for them, not a lot to work with in terms of space. And it gets even worse when you start to factor in the Grover healing, the Grok, the damage that's going to come through. I don't know. This is a shaky one at best.
Tempest just to try and get things started for their own team, but the cripple goes out. Anara is root for a little bit. They have to try and dive in, or at least I believe stall, poke him down, see what it is they can actually get going. Terminus is here. He wants to use that ultimate. Tempest comes in once again, the 3rd Tempest this round. Grok is once again leading the charge. The kills are coming up for the side of blue. The last one to fall is Ninu, and that's a 2-0 already for Yoinkers. Only 1 ultimate used, and it was the 3rd Tempest in the singular round for Grok already. The top damage dealt in a complete onslaught of aggression from ClownFiesta.
I mean, look, the only things that you could do to make this a better time for Grok is if you also had Ying and, like, a Barrack on your squad, right? Get some extra deployables for him. And honestly, at that point, maybe you have enough deployables that it dilutes the damage away from the champions. Maybe it bounces to the turrets and the illusions enough. And, you know, maybe over towards Luna or to Exentra's wall, things like that. Maybe it's not as big a deal. But as of right now, I mean, it's just easy for him. The damage that Prosper's going to have, plus now he has tier 2 morale boost. You thought you saw a lot of Tempests last time? Just wait for it this round. Plus he's got his own healing coming through with Lightning Rod, the Arc Lightning making sure that that range is going to bounce through even further. It's better for Ice Mines here because they're already grouped up. This guarantees you're going to get the bounce. It's just too much damage to handle, and I don't know that ClownFiesta are going to be able to turn it around fast enough.
Seismic Crash at Midnight. Tempest immediately not only to counter out the Midnight, but also make sure that when the dive happens, if it does, that they aren't able to find much on it, especially the fact that Terminus still has his ultimate. It might make it a lot harder, and it's definitely going to make it a lot harder. It's not might, it definitely will make it hard for ClownFiesta to try and make something work, but getting a kill immediately onto Grover might be the play here. A beautiful peel from Terminus. He's trying to help out Logi, but he can't quite make it in time. He is there, going to be able to burst down Torvald. And I see even still they get Ninu in the back. Exentra has, not Exentra, excuse me, Etsu has his reanimate. He's going to use a Tempest as well in the back, trying to catch out Anara. They are here. The cavalry's just returned. Reinforcements were heard. They were needed, and they're ready to battle once again. Luna has to be brought off of the objective. Anara already used her DR. She can't quite escape. Alex has to do what he can on this Mave, has to bounce out if anything. Torvald bubble just to make sure he can escape. Boca has to do the same thing, retreat. Ninu gets killed once again. Hook, line, and sinker immediately onto Mave. She tries to escape, but that's not going to be the case when Makoa's in the game. Torvald, last man standing, hunting heads is Logi as he finds the headshot, finds the kill, and Yoinkers find themselves another point.
And look how aggressive they're already getting. I mean, that payload's going to move forward on its own. Grover's probably going to be lonely back there as everybody else just starts running down towards ClownFiesta. I mean, it is literally a downhill fight for them here. It's not the easiest map to convert on, but they've already done it once, right? So it's not the end of the world. They've got the damage numbers. They've got the aggression. There's a good seismic crash, but the ults from ClownFiesta just haven't been connecting the way you need them to in order to turn things around. I mean, Seismic Crash there finally gets one. The last one was borderline useless. They just have not been able to find too many ults that have changed the pace of the game. And even now, they get 2 kills, and they barely stabilize the payload. They're finally getting some ground back, but Vaughn, they have to invest so much just to get here. I don't know what they're going to do when Yoinkers regroup.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what they're gonna have to do either. I mean, Grok used his Tempest as a warning shot. They didn't even go in off of that. He just had it out there to warn them that that's exactly what was about to happen in the next ensuing fight. They're able to make it back to the objective here, and Grover moves right on and uses the whirlwind at the perfect time, keeps everyone alive. It's so hard to deal with this double reset ultimate. This double pocket is so huge for them. It makes it so annoying to try and burn through both Grok and Grover. If anything, Simsalute tries to escape, but no, sir. You're not going to get out of this fight. They hook him right back in, and the cart's going to keep on rolling forward. 85% already for a Grok that just used his ultimate. That morale boost is paying off in dividends for him right now. It's cementing a lot of these team fights. Shock Pulse goes out. Totem gets dropped, and they have to back up around the corner. They manage to use the Midnight. They know that Alex is behind him up on a high ground, looking for an opportunity. They're trying to see what they can do. He has the Tempest. He's going to have to use it, and he wants to move in. They know that they're low. They use the Torball bubble to try and keep Alex alive, but even still, they're finally able to get the kill. But they are able to trade things on Alex for the most part, so it makes it a little bit easier. They use the Headhunter, looking for shots on Torball. They find it. They keep finding the crits. Will they find the kill? They don't, but they trade him out at the last possible second. They have to be gone on the side of Io. Inara is there, and they're able to contest. They staved off the offense from Yoinkers once again.
22 seconds, still a little staggered out as a whole for Yoinkers. So not quite grouped up the way they want to. Should be able to get an overtime touch. Should have everybody here in time for it. But it's going to be a shaky fight at that. You can see still playing catch-up at the very back is that Knessa. But they're going to be here. They're going to be able to get in. They're going to push us to overtime. Or not.
Yeah, or not. Wait, how did that happen? I
Hyper beam, baby.
I am 100% with you. I was 100% there. I was like, absolutely, Gore. They're going to touch. They're going to cause overtime. And then Hyper Beam comes out. Torvald knocks them all off of the point, keeps them from making it there, and you don't have an overtime. You have a 3-1. But I'm more so concerned about the fact that this Tempest is coming right back up, and I mentioned the Tempest so much because it has been making these plays. These team fights have been won off of the back of the Tempest. It's too hard to counter. What does ClownFiesta have to look forward to try and stop it?
Well, and this is the hard part. Stopping Tempest, it can't even be the first part on their list. You look at the slash lines, and you've got Ninu and Alex both suffering as far as your carries go, both 4 and 7, and then 2 and 9 there for Simsalute. I mean, 0 and 5 for Bolka. Like, they're getting to your support too often. Your carries aren't getting enough kills. At base, you just have to play better. You got to shoot. You got to connect. You got to exist longer in the field. And unfortunately, it means you have to figure out how to approach this in a non-group style, because otherwise, Prosper's going to keep doing what he's doing at 7-2 and 18.
It's 57% for Yoinkers already.
There's Tempest.
ClownFiesta can make it to the point. They get that overtime, but they get that double comeback mechanic, but it won't really matter because the Tempest goes out. They're trying to kill Logi in the back. They do at least find that, but everyone else is still grouped up. You got another DPS to burn through, and that's Grok. Anything Midnight. Prosper with the double already. Luna doesn't get burned on point, gets pulled away at the last second, but they're capping the whole time. If anything, that's unlucky for ClownFiesta to try and be able to touch, cause overtime, because then you get rooted exactly like that, and now you're in a bad spot. Alex went down. Torball on point, trying to contest. The last bastion of hope that they have is the Inara. Can she last long enough? The answer is no, and they throw out the time bomb. That is what they're going to have to use to try and make it work. He tries to jump over him. Doesn't matter either. That's going to be pretty much all she wrote as Yoinkers makes this a 3-1 off of the Grok-Grover combo.
I'm going to echo what Kresnik said. The Grok rocked going into that one. The Maeve was not a good pick. Like, when it comes down to it, it just didn't perform up to the standard. It didn't have what it needed to make things work. The healing, the point presence they should have had for ClownFiesta just didn't exist there, and they didn't have enough DPS and enough damage coming out to really balance out what the Grok was outputting. And so I'll say it, and I have to word it this way because I'm looking a little towards the future now. If ClownFiesta do not get that into shape now, they will get eliminated by Celestial. They have to turn it around right here. They have to figure out what just went wrong and do it insanely fast, because otherwise we're going to get a rematch in the finals with Celestial moving forward. So they have a lot of work to do.
What a set to be able to watch. I thought, if anything, I would have thought this was the set that could have been one of the longest today, but Yoinkers makes quick work of ClownFiesta. Let's toss it back to the desk and get their final thoughts on the set.
Thank you, Fawn and Gore, for a great cast, for a great set. And ultimately, Yoinkers are moving on to the grand finals, 1 game in hand. They are now just 2 maps from being crowned the Paladins World Champions in Europe. Kresnik, turns out you know what you're talking about a little bit. that the Mave was not that good, and that the Grok was very, very good for Yoinkers.
There's just no way to really deal with it. They even had a chance to pick something that would deal with it, but my man just free-farmed all game. I mean, straight up. There is no other way to look at it. He just stood there and did whatever he wanted to do. As soon as the Torv even tried to have a crumb of space taken, they just got Maelstormed on. They used the Tempest, they ran in and collapsed on him. Torv can really collapse under super heavy aggression, and this is exactly what you can do with that, right? Speed your entire team in, and Torv can't silence everybody at once, and he can't recharge through all that damage at the same time either.
Yeah, Prosper was just all over the place, man. 100,000 damage. And this was not a long game, for the record. It was not one where he got a chance to sit around and pump up damage numbers on point fight after point fight. This is about as fast as you'll see Ice Mines happen, and Prosper Logic still manages to find the 100K mark. That's just Grok things, baby. That's just how he is. And when he's good, as you said, he's really, really good. And having Luna to just be your tennis ball, basically, and just bounce your Maelstrom right off her every single time, it guaranteed made it a lot easier for Prosper Logic to hit the 100K mark. I don't think this was his hardest Grok game of his life.
I don't think so either. I think we saw some of those in the World Championships when they was being forced earlier here, but definitely looking different this time, as they all were pretty much consistent across the board for their team of kills, whereas looking at Clown, honestly, shout out to Alex. I really was a very, very difficult pick. He actually made some sort of space. He set on his team to the Inara, managed to find and get Logi a couple times. They made the best of it. The problem is that's just the best of it, right? The best they could have possibly found from that Mave on a map like Ice.
All things considered, a pretty good performance by Alex, but ultimately not enough to propel ClownFiesta into the next round. We're going to see them down in the losers bracket now, up against their competition, which should be Celestial Esports. And you heard Gore say it. Celestial's got a shot, man. If ClownFiesta are a little bit off right now, it's certainly possible that we could see an upset here, but ClownFiesta, I have some faith that we'll be able to turn it around. Remember, they 3-0'd Interstellar earlier on today and looked awfully good doing it. Celestial Esports did 3-1 Interstellar themselves, so certainly not a guaranteed win here for ClownFiesta, but either way, Yoinkers will be awaiting the winner of our next set. Remember, Yoinkers has a 1-game advantage in that grand finals, which is a best of 5. So that means they are only 2 maps away from being crowned your champions here in Europe. So make sure you guys don't go anywhere. Only 2 sets remaining until we find out who the best team in Europe is here in 2020. Stay tuned.